Welcome, honored viewers, to a deep and epic journey into the profound mysteries of ancient faith. In the brutal ancient world, false gods were shaped from shining gold, trapped as breathless, lifeless idols. Yet, high upon Mount Sinai, the Supreme Maker spoke through pure, awe-inspiring empty space alone. Why did the Almighty God strictly forbid all of mankind from weaving his divine form in cold stone? Today, we shatter the grand myth of idols, revealing a shocking psychological human truth. 3,000 years ago, the blazing desert sun beat down upon the sprawling temples of Egypt. Deep inside these massive stone walls, the air was thick with the heavy scent of burning incense. According to ancient records, every great nation worshipped gods of shining gold and silver. These towering statues stood in absolute silence, receiving the endless prayers of men. The ancient high priests walked with immense pride, believing they held the ultimate divine power. To the ancient mind, a god without a physical face was considered weak and meaningless. For if you could not see the deity with your own eyes, how could you trust its protection? The people bowed to these glittering idols, desperately seeking favor from the silent metal. Babylonian kings built gigantic monuments, forcing thousands to kneel before the golden statues. It seemed completely logical that true majesty must be displayed through heavy, earthly materials. But when the Israelites escaped into the desert, they carried a radically different law. The Second Commandment struck like lightning, stating, "You shall not make for yourself any carved image." For centuries, historians assumed this was just a rigid rule to stop pagan traditions. Many thought the invisible God simply hated visual art and human creativity. It felt like a strange, harsh restriction forced upon a wandering, exhausted desert tribe. Imagine standing in the ancient world, surrounded by visual splendor, yet forbidden to craft. The neighboring empires laughed at this faceless god who possessed no grand golden monuments. How could a nation survive the brutal ancient wars without a physical idol leading them? This was the ultimate ancient paradox, challenging everything the human eye had ever trusted. Did the Hebrew God lack the power to manifest? Or was there a far more terrifying truth? To understand this ancient mystery, we must step away from the brightly lit temple altars. We must journey deep into the dark, dusty workshops where these so-called gods were actually born. There, beneath the grand illusion of religion, lies the absolute core of human arrogance. The shining golden idols were not created to serve the heavens, but to serve human desires. They were beautiful, heavy anchors, designed to keep the divine trapped firmly on the ground. Every strike of the ancient hammer was a desperate attempt to conquer the vast unknown. Let us look closely at the hands that carve the divine and uncover their hidden motives. What if the act of creating an idol was never about faith, but entirely about control? In a cramped, suffocating workshop, a muscular sculptor raises his heavy iron hammer high. Sparks fly in the dim light as the bronze chisel bites fiercely into the raw, lifeless granite. With every single strike, white stone dust fills the air, coating his sweaty, exhausted skin. He is slowly shaping the rigid face of a powerful deity out of a worthless rock. Consider the deep psychological truth hidden behind this violent, dusty creation. When a human carves a god, they secretly attempt to master the chaotic, wild universe. By giving the unknown a familiar face, the dark forces of nature become manageable. You cannot negotiate with a raging storm, but you can certainly bribe a statue on a shelf. The idol becomes a convenient pocket god, completely bound by human rules and limitations. This is the ultimate deception, where the creator becomes the master of the god he just made. Fascinating ancient texts reveal that priests fed, washed, and clothed these statues like helpless little children. If a god needs a human priest to wipe the dust from its eyes, is it truly a divine power? The golden idol is fundamentally deaf. It cannot hear the desperate cries of the suffering. It is entirely blind, staring blankly into the distance, with cold, perfectly carved gemstone eyes. When you carry a deity into your living room, you are domesticating the raw, wild, sacred. You place it securely on a wooden pedestal, ensuring it never moves without your permission. This gave the ancient kings absolute authority, as they claimed to speak for the silent statues. Religion became a predictable transaction. You offer the bloody sacrifice, receive the blessing. The unpredictable, frightening nature of existence was neatly packaged into a golden box. But the vast creator of the cosmos entirely refuses to play this pathetic human game. He cannot be bribed with burning incense, nor manipulated by the tragic tears of mortals. To carve his likeness is to commit the ultimate sin of reducing the infinite to the finite. The unfinished stone face in the workshop remains a tragic monument to our foolish pride. We desperately want a God we can understand, a God we can easily hold inside our pockets. Yet, true divine majesty shatters every physical container we attempt to build for it. The Second Commandment is not a curse upon art, but a massive liberation of the human soul. It completely destroys the arrogant illusion that mankind can ever tame the ultimate creator. To truly meet the Almighty, the Israelites had to leave the golden temples far behind them. They marched into the brutal wilderness, arriving at the terrifying base of Mount Sinai. Here, there were no polished marble floors, no sweet incense, and no glittering golden altars. Instead, the jagged, towering peak was violently swallowed by thick, impenetrable black clouds. Deafening thunder shook the very earth beneath their feet, echoing through the empty canyons. Fierce winds whipped their rough cloaks, blinding the terrified nomads with vicious, swirling desert sand. According to the ancient scriptures, the mountain was wrapped in heavy smoke, like a roaring furnace. The people trembled in absolute awe, gazing upward into the devastating, majestic void. There was no human-faced statue waiting for them at the blazing summit of this dark mountain. There was only the overwhelming presence of a power that entirely defies physical form. How could anyone capture the fierce creator of 100 billion blazing galaxies? To trap that infinite, roaring energy inside a lifeless wooden block is a supreme insult. Any image crafted by human hands instantly becomes a pathetic, dead shadow of the truth. A carved golden calf cannot summon the raging storms, nor can it part the deep, crashing Red Sea. The invisible God commands the universe. He is not a pet kept securely inside a shrine. This profound emptiness forces the human mind to stretch beyond the limits of visual matter. It demands a radical, terrifying leap of faith into the vast, unpredictable unknown. The Israelites were instructed to build an altar using only rough, completely unhewn stones. If a human chisel touched the sacred rock, it would immediately become impure and ruined. The divine presence absolutely rejects the arrogant, controlling marks of human engineering. He remains wild, untamed, and entirely free from the manipulative grip of the ancient priests. When the thunder finally ceased, a profound, heavy silence blanketed the terrified desert camp. They realized that true worship requires surrendering control, not capturing the sacred power. If you were standing at the foot of that smoking mountain, would you dare to demand a statue? The empty space above the altar became the greatest theological statement in history. It boldly declared that the Creator cannot be measured, weighed, or purchased with ancient gold. He transcends the fragile boundaries of the physical world, existing beyond the flow of time. This epic, revolutionary idea shattered the foundations of every pagan empire. A god without a physical body is a god who can truly be everywhere at the same time. As the terrifying storm cleared, the vast, magnificent desert night sky revealed its glowing stars. The nomadic tents looked incredibly small beneath the crushing, infinite weight of the cosmos. The lack of an idol does not mean the Almighty is missing from this dark, suffering world. Instead, it proves that His overwhelming greatness simply shatters the limits of our vision. Our human eyes are far too weak to comprehend the blinding, absolute reality of God. The ancient Israelites learned that the supreme divine cannot be neatly captured in a mirror. He is the invisible breath that moves the towering oceans and the delicate falling leaves. When we finally destroy our handmade idols, we open our hearts to the boundless, true, eternal. The majestic emptiness of the ancient sanctuary is truly filled with an infinite grace. No earthly prison of stone or shining gold will ever be large enough to contain His glory. The Creator remains beautifully unseen, ruling with absolute power from the hidden depths. When we stop trying to trap the Lord in metal, we begin to feel His grand, cosmic spirit. He is the whisper of the desert wind and the fierce burning light that breaks the morning clouds. The empty spaces in the ancient tabernacle became a window to the true, endless heaven. For the first time in human history, faith was built on a deep trust in the vast, unseen realm. It challenged the ancient kings, stripping away their power to use the divine as a weapon. Because if God has no physical shape, no single empire can ever claim to truly own Him. He belongs to the weary nomads, the broken slaves, and the kings alike, judging with pure truth. This radical belief shook the very foundations of the golden cities along the great rivers. A silent revolution began underneath the majestic canopy of the sparkling sky. It was the beautiful dawn of a sacred era, where the soul meets its maker without disguise. We must look beyond the heavy, crumbling stones of antiquity to find the living presence. Every time you marvel at the boundless, starlit heaven, you touch the hem of His vast glory. The true Creator leaves no physical footprints, yet he completely fills the empty universe. So the next time you see a painted icon or a golden idol, remember this ancient lesson. The divine cannot be shaped by our hands, because it is the divine that shapes our very souls. God left us with his holy name. But what happens when mankind twists that name for raw power? The most dangerous and subtle sin will be fully exposed in the chilling 13th episode. By rejecting an idol, God broke the chains of human control. True faith needs no golden masks. Do you think modern people still worship false statues today? Share your thoughts below right now. If this deep journey moved you, please like, share the video, and subscribe for more epic lore.